Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Grand Boulevard Coalition. The Grand Boulevard Coalition is a drug-free communities program located in the Grand Boulevard community. The Grand Boulevard community boundaries are 51st Street on the south, 35th Street on the north, west to the Dan Ryan, east to Cottage Grove and some parts of the lakefront. We have a very exciting guest this week. Our guest this week is Mr. Sam Hill from the Kirby Inc. Substance Abuse.
Yes, Kirby Rehab.
Kirby Inc. Rehab, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Kirby Rehab, which is located out in Roseland. And we're going to be talking with Mr. Hill today about underage drinking and drugging, usage among youth, and community collaboration. So this is a very informative show. It's a live show. 312-738-1060. Why don't you join us in the conversation? 312-738-1060. And before we dive into the conversation, let me just introduce, or I guess announce, some of our community partners. We have Recovery 2000, the executive director, Ms. Izetta Walton. We have the Institute for Positive Living, Reverend Maurice Coverson. We have Centers for New Horizon, Ms. Crystal Hamilton. We have the Bronzeville Community Clubhouse, Mr. John Cook. We have Persian Elementary School. We also work with our civic leader and partner, the 3rd Ward Alderman, Pat Dow, and our police sector partner, which we had a great meeting this afternoon with her, Commander Crystal King-Smith of Area 2 Police District. Our faith and community sector partner is Greater Harvest Missionary Baptist Church, the 51st Street Business Coalition. So that's a little bit about our partners who are partnering with us. So we're going to dive right into this conversation with Mr. Sam Hill of the Kirby Rehab Institute.
Glad to be here.
Thank you for joining us. So, Mr. Hill, why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself and the Kirby Rehabilitation Institute?
Okay. Well, Kirby Rehab has been in existence since 1998.
Okay.
It started off as a program called Today's Single Parent, or SARF, serving at-risk families. And what we do is we provide domestic violence programs. We provide substance abuse for adolescents as well as adult, DUI evaluations, risk education, and we're Medicaid approved.
Okay. And so, well, let's talk about a little bit about you, because, I mean, you'll see him sitting in this seat. This brother is very tall.
I got you beat by Institute, huh?
Yeah, right. Don't let the seat fool you. We're not the same height. But anyway, let's just talk a little bit about your background and what you've been doing. Mr.
Well, my background, I grew up in Uptown. I'm an Uptown kid. Grew up in Uptown, a former high school All-American, played basketball at Amundsen High School, went on to play basketball at Iowa State University, had a great career at Iowa State, played with a couple of really famous people, Jeff Hornacek, head coach of the New York Knicks, Fred Hoiberg, who's the head coach of Chicago Bulls, was actually my ball boy at Iowa State. Then I went on to play for the Dallas Mavericks in the NBA. Then played for professionally in Europe and Asia and different countries.
Okay.
And then after that, I moved back after I retired. I got my degree. And my passion, my calling was to work with kids. So I'm former executive director of Boys and Girls Club for the state of Indiana, one of the directors for Chicago Urban League, co-founder of a youth-based organization called MADE, which stands for Making a Difference Everywhere. So I've been doing what I do for over 25 years.
Oh, that's great.
Working with kids, and that's not only my profession, that's my calling, that's my passion, that's what I've been called to do. My mentor is a former Chicago Bear, Reevy Sori,
Doing very well.
Who taught me everything I know about nonprofit, working with kids, and giving back to the community. So, when I go out and speak, I'm a motivational speaker as well. When I talk to kids and I talk to them about career choices and different things like that, when you go to college, major in something that you want to do, a passion that you want and that you enjoy getting up every day and that you want to do. Because if you've got a passion for it, then it's not like work. It's what you've been called to do, and what you have a passion for. So that's my passion. I enjoy helping others.
Yeah. And you mentioned Reeve Surrey, who was with A.S. McKinley.
Yes.
Until he took ill.
Yes.
He filled some great shoes in the shoes of Brother Silas Purnell,
Yes, he did.
who I know certainly have led to hundreds of thousands of young people from low-income communities getting into colleges and major
He's
universities. So
He's
absolutely. And so Reeve followed in those footsteps up into his illness, and certainly if you watch or anybody who knows Reeve, we're certainly praying for him. A very a good man. So you walked in good company then. So I know you know what you're talking about. So you ready to tackle this issue of today's youth and this whole issue of drugging. So let's just get into this. So you're in the Roseland community. So tell me, how important do you see community relationships in the work that you do, Sam?
I think it's very, very important to be involved in the community as a whole. You know, the saying goes, it really does take a village to raise a kid. You know, I think today's youth, they have to overcome so many different obstacles in life. You know, back in the day when I was growing up, and I don't want to tell my age, you know, if you were a ball player, athletes were off limits for the gangs and the drugs and stuff like that. Now they're not off limits anymore, and parents are afraid to let their kids go out and just play. You know, if it was warm outside and we were inside, my mother thought there was something wrong with us. You know, like, what you doing in the house? I don't feel like going, okay, well, I got something for you to do, you know, around the house. So, you know, there's so many different things, and with the violence and the drugs and what kids are doing now, they're self-medicating. So, you know, that's why it's very important that agencies need to collaborate. You know, I'm really big on partnerships and collaboration. Okay. And, you know, if we can all collaborate and partnership together, we could really make a difference in what we're trying to do.
Indeed. And so, are you guys, or have you guys from the Kirby Inc. Kirby Rehabilitation? Forgive me, I'm not a professional news reporter.
That's okay. That's all right.
But anyway, you all will bear with me. The Kirby Inc. Institute. How all are your partnerships with the schools in the Roseland community? Do you partner with the schools or do any work with the schools out there in Roseland?
Yeah, we're starting to partnership more and more with the schools. Okay. We'll be partnering with several schools. I don't want to name names right now. Okay. We will be partnering with several schools in the Roseland community, which I think is very, very important. Charter school and with the high school in the community. Okay. You know, because like I said, you know, kids nowadays, they're self-medicating, they're reaching out. But before we could actually come up with a solution, we need to assess what their problems are. We need to find out why they're doing what they're doing. So we got to be able to offer them different alternatives to get from point A to B to C. You know, we got to have short-term goals, and then we got to have long-term goals. But we have to start taking little steps and address the issues that they're having, because a lot of times these kids, they're acting out. I always say kids or teenagers, they may not admit it, but all kids, all teenagers, adolescents, they want discipline and structure in their lives. That's a way of showing them that we love them, that we care. You know, I remember somebody told me, Reeve Surrey, as a matter of fact, he said, if you ever look a kid in the eye and you could tell that they're kind of hurting a little bit, and you say, hey man, I love you. Anybody tell you they love you today? Like, no. Well, I love you. And they're like, oh, Mr. Hill, you know how I feel about you. You know, but they need to hear that. And as black men, we don't tell our young men that we love them enough.
Yeah, the affirmation. I get that.
That means a lot.
No, I agree with you. So as a professional who's been working in addiction and dealing with young people, for someone who may be watching and not calling in, what are some of the reasons that you found that young people have indulged in self-medicating?
There's a number of different reasons. There's nothing for them to do. There's no job. They're depressed and they're self-medicating. We're not showing them the right way to go. For whatever reason, hey, they could have addicts at home. Their mom, their dad, if their dad is even there. You know. So the streets are raising our kids, literally,
Yeah.
and the gangs are raising our kids because they give them a false sense of belonging. Hey, what's up, fam? Hey, I'm your family.
Right.
No, the streets don't shouldn't raise the kids, but a lot of times before we can address the kids, we need to address the parents.
Yeah.
We have to address the parents, and if we can address the parents and find out what's going on in the home, then we can help the kids. But a lot of times those kids, they don't have a home to go to. So we have to take it upon ourselves as an agency. We're trying to do our part, and we can't do everything. Kirby Rehab can't do everything alone. That's why we have a coalition. That's why we have collaboration. We have partnership. Because if there's something that I'm not that our agency's not doing, I can refer them to another agency.
Right.
And that's what it takes. It truly does take a village.
Oh, I agree with you, but you touched on the man. You know they say great minds think alike. So I was going right into that, the parenting, right?
Yes.
And so I know sometimes when I mention this, it sounds very conservative or quote unquote Republican like, if you will, but. Parental responsibility and parenting classes and parental training. So, as a person who's working in the field of treatment, do you find that it's necessary that even if you're treating the adult, you should be treating the whole family? Like, so it's like a group treatment type of initiative. That's one. And then, how effective, or what is an effective tool to parenting or offering parenting classes and parental support and guidance?
Well, I think it's two things. It's a two-way thing. Excuse me. You can have a group setting where you got the parents as well as the kids in a focus group setting.
Okay.
But sometime with teenagers, I always say it's kind of hard to get your point across with them as a group.
Okay.
You know, I think it's more effective, my personal opinion, if you can discuss things with them one-on-one first. And so you have to give respect to get respect. Once you got that respect from that team, then they'll respect you. They'll start to open up. But the most important thing is you have to be consistent.
Yeah.
Because they're not used to consistency. As a whole, we've lied to our kids so much that they don't trust us as a whole, as adults. They really don't. So you have to be consistent. You got to be persistent. You got to understand when a young adult is acting out, it may have nothing to do with you.
Right.
It could have something to do with their lack of home life, lack of structure. They see their mom, their dad abusing drugs. Then we talk about domestic violence. Kids grow up seeing their father beat their mother. So that's the only thing they know. So what happens? They do the same thing. So we have to break that cycle and teach them to be positive black role models. And if we can teach them that, then maybe they can break that vicious cycle.
Okay. And so in your work, how, I will say this again, how effective has your success rate been working with young people as it relates to treating? Well, let me back up. Let me pose the question this way: what are the types of if you will, treatment that you've offered to young people?
Well, some of the treatments
without violating. I'm not looking for
Right.
names. I'm just looking for
Right.
examples of drug addictions for young people that you've treated.
Right.
at
The first thing we do, we have to make an assessment.
Okay.
Because every young person have different forms of addiction. You know,
Okay.
we talked about it earlier. You know, it could be the overuse of marijuana, which is the blunts that they smoke now.
Right.
It could be the lean, which actually used to be called syrup back in the day. That's the Robitussin with the codeine.
Right.
It could be the opium addiction. It could be a number of different things. So each drug has different psychological effects on a person.
Yeah.
So once we assess what they're doing, now we can effectively address those different issues. And what's the underlying issue that makes a person want to use these particular drugs? So, we start off with one-on-one counseling, and then once we get them comfortable, and then we'll do it in a group setting. You know, so once they're comfortable, then we want to bring them into the group setting and have it like an open discussion, a focus group, and identify the effects, the negative effects on that person's body, on their psychological thinking. So we have to change their way of thinking, so it's a holistic approach. And the most important thing is getting them to understand the effects of that drug that they're using.
All right. And in the simpler terms, have you been able, and we got a call on the air before we go to them, in the simpler terms, have you been able to get through to them to a point where how can I say that there's not been a repetitive form of a cycle of the same young people coming back to you for the same issues?
Yeah, we've had a number of great success stories, but you have to, one of the things that we do is we try to be consistent, and we do a lot of follow-up. Once they're out of our program, we don't just say, okay, you're out of the program, you complete it. I'm very big on tracking and measurable, and it could be something as simple as picking up the phone and say, hey, how you feeling today? Or I haven't heard from you in a while. How you doing? Yeah, you're taking those adult literacy classes to get your high school diploma.
Okay.
How do you feel, man? Hey, I was just thinking about you.
Yeah.
And by the way, I love you, man.
Yeah.
And it all, man, Mr. Hill.
Yeah.
I love you too. And then to see those young men and those young women come back and say, if it wasn't for you, Mr. Hill, if it wasn't for you, Miss Kirby, I don't know where I'm at. Or I don't know where I'd be. So that makes our work very gratifying.
Right. I understand. So we got a caller. Caller, you on the air. Let's take a call. Caller, you on the air.
Yes, sir.
How are you?
Glad to hear the gentleman next to you. He talks the good stuff.
Thank you.
That's what we need. We need more than that. Not the guy you had last week wanting addresses and screaming and hollering. You need somebody here that you can understand.
Okay.
But you know what? The thing is? Kids should be taken by their parents downtown, to a construction site.
Yes.
And then ask them, what's wrong here? Well, let me see. There's 3 black guys, there's 3 Hispanics, and there's 750 Caucasians. Now, is there something wrong with that? And you see that every day. Our children, your children, don't want to put up with that stuff. Why doesn't the mayor or the alderman do something to make it more?
Well, I appreciate your passion about employment, brother, but we're kind of talking about drugs and the effects of drugs and drug-free communities and drugs and young people today on the show. But I agree with you, as Brother Sam Hill had talked about, employment being one of the reasons, or frustrated about lack of employment, maybe one of the issues why young people tend to self-medicate. But we appreciate your call, man. Thank you for your call.
Thank you.
Caller, you're on the air, caller. We got another call. Caller, you on the air?
Yes, I heard you ask him right before the last gentleman called, do people keep coming back? Sure, some people keep coming back. Some people don't get it the first time.
But we can't give up on them. We can't give up.
You're doggone right. If you don't get it the first time, keep coming back. You might get it the next time.
Exactly.
And then we got to worry about the governor. He wants to close down all these facilities.
Yes.
Where do he want people just be zombies and walking around? Listen, partner, I commend you. You keep on doing that good work.
Thank you.
Because it is very necessity that we have this. If not, you can imagine how things will run. Thanks for taking the call.
No, and thank you for your caller. And I would agree with you. That was going to be, I guess it's kind of a no-brainer in the sense, but I think you guys are kind of for-profit in the sense. But how has this 2-year state budget crisis, has it really had a bad effect on you guys and the work that you do out in Roseland?
Wow, it has had an effect on us, but we've been able to keep our doors open because a lot of our clients have been court mandated.
Okay.
So, a lot of our clients do pay, but we've been very fortunate to accept some clients who have Medicaid.
Okay.
And even though, there's no state budget, we still accept them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so one thing we didn't talk about in this whole addiction, and we talked about the opioids, but I got to tell you, just talking as I move around the community, talking to police and other various health officials, they talk about this phenomenon of young people, especially those who are involved in some of these high-profile crimes, the fact that they have severely abused what they call popping pills, and drink the lean, pop the Molly and drink the lean and just wilding out, right? Yeah. So that this whole new wilding out phenomenon, right, that we experience with our young people. I just, if you could, if there are any signs that a parent should look towards if they suspect that their children is using drugs or getting high, are there any characteristics of a person or a young person that may be potentially using?
Yeah. There's a lot of telltale signs. You know, we talk about wilding out. You know, they're spacey. Okay. You know, they're fidgety. You know, their eyes are kind of bugging out a little bit. You know, there's certain things that that parents should be aware of. Just things that they normally don't do. Yeah. You know, loss of appetite. You know, like I said, they're fidgety, they're paranoid, you know, and then with the lean, you know, they're nodding out, you know, in the middle of a sentence, you know, they're talking and then they're just kind of nodding out like, what's wrong with you? Right. You know, so they're self-medicating. So a lot of times, you know, us as parents, we have to look in the mirror and see, hey, what are we doing or what aren't we doing? Yeah. You know, as parents, are we doing effective parenting? You know, kids they're self-medicating because they're spacing out. So you know, there's a lot of different signs. You know your kid. Right. You've been around them all your life. Right. So be aware of certain things that they're uncharacteristic of doing. Right. You know, not going to school, hanging around with crowds that they normally would not hang out with. You know, a lot of times people say sports aren't good. Sports saved me. If it wasn't for sports, I don't know where I'd be. You know, because sports keep you out of trouble. It teaches you so many different things, life skills. Certain things that I learned playing basketball are some of the things that that has taught me to be the man that I am now. Discipline, leadership, all of that.
And most importantly, as far as I'm concerned, it builds character.
Character building, yeah.
Character development in sports. So that I would contribute that to, and that's an outlet. Yeah. I don't know. You know, you talked about what they said, SERP, and is now lean. You know, I never heard of the pill popping. I would just say this, and when we talk about drug treatment and drug use, that it's just mighty strange to me that there's level of the level of heroin prevention money that's being spent in other communities, where our community, the drugs that affect basically black and brown folks, you know, we don't get the level of treatment dollars for that, and that's kind of just disturbing.
They don't. Unfortunately, I said they don't care. Yeah. They don't care. Only time they care is when it starts to affect their kids in their community, the suburban kids. Yeah. When they see their kid die of a car accident or overdose on drugs, and then they broadcast it on world news and it's all over the place. Yeah. But our kids have been dying on that stuff for years. Yeah. And you very rarely see it. Right. Our kids are walking around like zombies.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you know, in some neighborhoods and communities, it gets a lot worse. So, listen, guys, if you want to reach the Grand Boulevard Coalition, you can reach us at 435 East 35th Street, Chicago, Illinois, 60616. Again, the Grand Boulevard Coalition at 435 East 35th Street, Chicago, Illinois, 60616. You can email us at grandboulevardcoalition@gmail.com. Again, Grand Boulevard, all lowercase, at gmail.com, or you can Facebook us on Grand Boulevard Coalition 2, Grand Boulevard Coalition 2. And if you want to reach me, you can reach me, Bomani Obadelli. I am the president of the Grand Boulevard Coalition Board at 312-420-5582. Again, 312-420-5582 is how you can reach me. All right, so Mr. Sam Hill, why don't you give us a closing statement and tell people how they can reach you?
Well, hey, it's a pleasure. I think, like I said, we do a great job at Kirby Rehab. And you can reach us. First of all, we're located at 723 West 111th Street, 1 block east of Halsted by Emerald. Our phone number is 773-614-4002. Our website is leahkirby.com. Why
don't you give that phone number one more time?
773-614-4002.
And certainly parents who may suspect that their children are dealing with drugs and may qualify can call you to maybe you can provide them some level of assistance and direction.
Of course we can.
Yeah, that would be great. Well, listen, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, it's been another great show. I want to thank my superphone Mr. Technician, Youth Advisor, Perry Walton. Next week is going to be all about the youth. Next week is going to be all about the youth on our show next week. You've been watching the Grand Boulevard Coalition, the drug-free community in Grand Boulevard in between. Thank Mr. Kirby Sam Hill from the Kirby Institute for being our guest today.
My pleasure.
For allowing us to come on. And as Dr. King said, everybody can be great because everybody can serve, or everyone can serve. Between now and next week, keep the faith. God bless.
God bless.